Ladies and gentlemen, there exists within the human psyche a realm often overlooked by the clamor of the outer world, a realm veiled not in silence, but in depth. It is a domain not of noise, but of knowing, not of appearance, but of essence. And it is in this inward kingdom that the intuitive introvert resides. Today, I invite you not merely to observe traits or typologies, but to journey inward to ask yourself, am I one of these travelers of the inner road? Am I an intuitive introvert? These individuals are not defined by mere shyness or solitude, for those are surface-level labels. No, the intuitive introvert is guided by a compass deeper than cognition, an inner directive, a whisper of symbols, patterns, and archetypes that arise not from the conscious will, but from the unconscious depths. There are two common manifestations of this inner archetype, one cloaked in vision and empathy, the other in logic and structure. Some call them INFJ and INTJ, but today, let us dispense with labels and speak to the essence. The seer of the soul, INFJ, this type, feels the tides of humanity without words being spoken. Their intuition does not scan outwardly for data, but descends inwardly into the soul. They perceive hidden emotional undercurrents, the latent hopes of others, and future possibilities not through reason but through quiet revelation. They often appear calm, even aloof, yet beneath this stillness burns a profound desire to bring harmony to the world. These individuals may write, heal, or teach not to be seen, but because their vision compels them to illuminate the inner paths of others. Their solitude is sacred. In it, they commune with symbols, dreams, and meanings too subtle for everyday discourse. If you find yourself moved by suffering you cannot explain, if you dream of futures that others cannot see, perhaps the seer archetype stirs in you, the architect of the invisible inch where the seer feels, the architect constructs. This type does not drift in intuition, they wield it like a blade. They are strategic, independent, and often misunderstood. Their gaze pierces through appearances and fastens itself on what could be rather than what is. These individuals are systems, thinkers, visionaries. They walk through this chaotic world not to adapt, but to reframe it, to redesign it according to a blueprint only they can perceive. Yet, behind their rational precision lies a mysterious intuition that is not taught. It arises, whole and silent, often in the form of sudden insight. If you find that you think 10 steps ahead, that inefficiency causes you existential discomfort, and that solitude is your wellspring of clarity, you may be one who builds castles in the mind before laying a single stone in the world. Shared signs of the inner visionary, whether seer or architect, both types share the mark of the intuitive introvert. You do not speak often, but when you do, it is with intention and depth. You often know things without knowing how you know them. You seek meaning like a pilgrim seeks light. You prefer long, solitary walks to crowded celebrations. You are weary of small talk, for it buries the essential beneath the trivial. Your mind is a labyrinth, not a ladder. You are misunderstood, not because you are wrong, but because you are early. And so I ask you again, not with judgment but with invitation. Are you an intuitive introvert? If so, understand you are not lost. You are rare. The world often fails to understand those who dwell more in ideas than in action, more in symbols than in facts, but it is precisely such individuals who midwife transformation not by force but by insight. The intuitive introvert does not shout above the crowd, they listen beneath it, and when they do speak the world slowly changes. Inner knowledge arises without conscious reasoning. This phenomenon lies at the very heart of the intuitive introvert's experience. It is not a skill learned through books or acquired through social training. It is a native ability, as natural to the intuitive individual as breathing is to the body. One does not summon it at will, nor can it be taught through instruction. It simply occurs. The moment presents itself, and in response, a knowing emerges, unbidden, fully formed. The intuitive introvert often experiences this as a sudden clarity, an insight that feels like a revelation rather than a deduction. There is no deliberate chain of logic, no linear process connecting premise to conclusion. Instead, the insight arrives whole, often before the conscious mind can understand it. To the outside observer, this may appear irrational or even mystical. The intuitive introvert may be asked, "How did you come to that conclusion?" And often, the honest answer is, "I don't know, I just know." This, of course, is not easily accepted in a world driven by metrics and explanations. Yet, this mode of perception is not rooted in fantasy. It is a deep psychological function, a gathering of subtle impressions, patterns, and associations that never fully rise to the surface of consciousness. The mind of the intuitive introvert operates like a subterranean stream. Information flows in from multiple sources: the environment, human behavior, language, metaphor, mood, and these impressions are absorbed quietly, unconsciously. Over time, they coalesce into a coherent insight, surfacing not gradually, but suddenly. This internal process is not accessible to the five senses, nor is it structured like traditional thought. It is symbolic. It operates through archetypes, through invisible dynamics, through an innate understanding of connections between seemingly unrelated things. For example, an intuitive introvert may sense that a friendship is declining long before any open conflict has occurred. They may feel the end coming, and while there is no evidence yet, no arguments, no changes in routine, the knowledge is already present within them. Later, when events confirm what they already sensed, others are surprised, but the intuitive individual is not. It is as if they were listening to an inner frequency that was whispering the truth all along. This type of knowing does not depend on time. The intuitive introvert often experiences flashes of insight into the future, glimpses of possibilities not yet formed. These are not predictions in the conventional sense, but rather anticipations based on a synthesis of hidden cues. The mind, working below the threshold of consciousness, assembles these cues into a future image, a kind of inner foresight. This can be both a gift and a burden. To know too early what others will not realize for years can create isolation. It can lead to being dismissed or misunderstood. But for the intuitive introvert, this is a familiar experience. They often feel ahead of their time, and not out of arrogance, but because they truly see further than what is immediately visible. Their knowing is also frequently symbolic. Dreams, metaphors, and images are more real to them than facts. The subconscious speaks to them in signs: a crow at the window, a phrase in a book, the sensation of déjà vu, and these signs are interpreted not through intellect, but through resonance. If something asterisk feels asterisk meaningful, it is. Not because of logic, but because of the pattern it fits into internally. The intuitive introvert does not ask, "Is this rational?" They ask, "What is this pointing to beneath the surface?" The meaning lies in the connection, in the undercurrent. There is also an emotional texture to this kind of knowledge. It is not cold or detached. It is warm, full-bodied, often tinged with a kind of melancholy. Because it arises from the depths of the self, it carries the flavor of the soul. It is not mere information, it is wisdom, and that wisdom often includes the suffering of insight. To see clearly is not always to feel joy. Many intuitive introverts feel the weight of their knowing, especially when it reveals uncomfortable truths. They may wish at times that they could know what they sense, but the inner voice is persistent. It does not shout, but it does not leave. This knowing also functions at a collective level. The intuitive introvert often picks up on the mood of a room, the silent dynamics within a group, the psychological states of others. They do not analyze these things, they absorb them. Like emotional barometers, they register shifts in tone, unsaid tensions, unresolved energies. They may be among the first to withdraw from an unhealthy situation, even when no clear harm has yet occurred. Their actions may seem premature, but to them, they are not reactions, they are responses to an inner directive. They do not need external validation to confirm what they feel. The internal compass is enough. Even their creativity is guided by this hidden process. They may write, speak, or design without a clear plan, yet what emerges feels complete and meaningful. The work flows not from conscious will, but from a deeper reservoir. Often, they will look back on what they've created and wonder how it came through them. This is not rare among intuitive introverts. They are vessels for the unseen, and when aligned with their inner source, they become conduits for beauty, truth, and transformation. What they bring into the world is not invented, it is revealed. This inner knowing also influences decision-making. While others may list pros and cons, gather opinions, and deliberate over options, the intuitive introvert often moves from a place of immediate certainty. They may pause, wait, and seem indecisive on the surface, but in reality, they are waiting for the knowing to arrive. Once it does, they move decisively. The choice feels inevitable, as if it had already been made. This frustrates those who expect justification, but the intuitive introvert is not swayed by external pressure. They are loyal to the inner voice, and it rarely leads them astray. At times, this knowing alienates them. In a society that demands clarity and proof, the intuitive introvert appears mysterious, even evasive. They are often accused of being overly abstract, too sensitive, or simply strange, but they are not lost, they are attuned to a different dimension of reality, one that cannot be explained, only experienced. Their world is woven not from facts, but from meanings. And in that world, intuition is not a supplement to thought, it is the foundation of understanding. Solitude is essential for clarity and renewal. For the intuitive introvert, solitude is not merely a preference or a luxury. It is a fundamental necessity, the very soil from which their inner life grows and flourishes. Unlike the extrovert, who often gains energy and inspiration through interaction with others and the external world, the intuitive introvert finds that their wellspring of vitality is replenished through withdrawal and quiet. This is not a retreat born of fear or avoidance, but a conscious journey inward, a sacred space where the mind and soul can untangle the threads of complexity and regain equilibrium. In solitude, the intuitive introvert encounters themselves fully without distraction, without the pressure to perform or conform. It is in these moments of silence that the restless currents of thought settle, allowing the deeper layers of perception to emerge. The external world, with its demands and noise, often clouds the subtle impressions that arise from within. Solitude acts like a filter, a clearing of the air, through which the intuitive mind can discern what is truly important, what resonates with the core of being. This solitude is not loneliness, though it may be mistaken for it by those who do not understand. The intuitive introvert often feels profoundly connected in solitude, connected not to people in the immediate sense, but to something larger, to ideas, to meaning, to archetypes that transcend time and place. This connection is felt as a kind of inner richness, a dialogue with the unconscious, a communion with the self that is impossible in the presence of constant external stimulation. The necessity of solitude is evident in the way the intuitive introvert processes experiences. Their minds are often busy behind the scenes, weaving threads of memory, impression, and insight into intricate patterns. This internal work requires space and time. Without solitude, the intuitive introvert's mental energy is fragmented, scattered by the ceaseless chatter of everyday life. When deprived of solitude, they may feel overwhelmed, exhausted, or disconnected from their own intuition. The world's demands become oppressive, and their inner voice, which guides and grounds them, becomes faint and difficult to hear. In contrast, when given sufficient solitude, the intuitive introvert enters a state of renewal. This renewal is not simply physical rest, it is a rejuvenation of the spirit. It is in solitude that they can reflect deeply on their experiences, integrate new insights, and clarify their values and goals. The intuitive introvert often reports feeling recharged, after periods of being alone, returning to social situations with renewed energy and presence. This replenishment is necessary not only for their well-being, but also for their ability to contribute meaningfully to the world. The nature of solitude sought by the intuitive introvert is often different from mere inactivity or passive isolation. They seek quality solitude moments rich with introspection, meditation, or creative expression. It may be found in a quiet room, a solitary walk in nature, or hours spent journaling or reading. These periods are active engagements with the self, a turning inward to explore the vast landscape of inner experience. In this solitude, the intuitive introvert encounters the wellspring of their creativity and insight. Solitude also provides a protective boundary, a safe container for the intuitive introvert's sensitive nature. Because they absorb much from their environment, emotions, energies, subtle cues, they are vulnerable to becoming overwhelmed in busy or chaotic settings. The solitude they cultivate acts as a shield, a necessary retreat where they can shed the accumulated weight of external stimuli and restore balance. This protection allows them to return to the outer world with greater clarity and composure. There is also a temporal dimension to this need for solitude. The intuitive introvert often cycles between periods of intense social engagement and extended solitude. After social interaction, even when it is pleasant, they require time alone to process and assimilate what has occurred. This rhythm of engagement and withdrawal is essential to their psychological health. Without honoring this rhythm, the intuitive introvert may become depleted, irritable, or disconnected from their true self. Importantly, the solitude embraced by the intuitive introvert is often a crucible for transformation. It is in these quiet spaces that the self is confronted with its own depths, the hopes, fears, contradictions, and mysteries that comprise human existence. Such confrontation is not always easy. It requires courage and honesty. Yet it is through this process that the intuitive introvert gains profound self-knowledge and insight, which in turn inform their vision and actions in the world. This inward journey during solitude is marked by a heightened sensitivity to symbols, dreams, and subtle impressions. The intuitive introvert's imagination is particularly active in these moments, weaving narratives and meanings that connect past, present, and future. Dreams may be remembered with vivid clarity, and their symbolic language serves as a guide for waking life. This symbolic awareness deepens the intuitive introvert's understanding of themselves and their place in the world. Moreover, solitude nurtures the intuitive introvert's capacity for empathy and compassion. By spending time in reflective quiet, they develop an attuned inner listening that extends outward in relationships. Paradoxically, solitude enhances their ability to connect deeply with others, not through volume or proximity, but through presence and understanding. The time spent alone becomes a preparation for genuine engagement, a way to approach others with authenticity and care. The essential role of solitude also manifests in how the intuitive introvert approaches problem-solving and creativity. Many find that their best ideas and solutions arise not in the midst of action or social discussion, but in the quiet moments when the mind is free to roam without interruption. Solitude opens a space for incubation where unconscious processes can unfold and bring forth insights that might otherwise remain hidden. The intuitive introvert learns to honor this process, resisting the pressure to produce immediately and instead trusting the rhythms of inner development. In societies that valorize constant activity, extroversion, and external achievement, the intuitive introvert's need for solitude can be misunderstood or undervalued. They may be seen as withdrawn, aloof, or disengaged. Yet this misunderstanding ignores the profound necessity of solitude for their inner life and the contributions that arise from it. The intuitive introvert's solitude is not a sign of weakness or disinterest, but a wellspring of strength and wisdom. Finally, solitude enables the intuitive introvert to maintain integrity and authenticity. In a world filled with external influences and expectations, time alone allows them to discern their own truth, separate from the voices of others. This clarity is essential for making choices aligned with their deeper purpose and for resisting conformity. Through solitude, they cultivate a relationship with themselves that is grounded in acceptance and self-respect, providing the foundation for living a meaningful and intentional life. Deep perception of patterns, meanings, and futures is a defining characteristic of the intuitive introvert. This faculty goes far beyond simple observation. It is an active, dynamic process of recognizing the hidden connections that underlie the surface of reality. For the intuitive introvert, the world is not a collection of isolated events or facts, but a tapestry woven from interrelated threads of meaning. They perceive not only what is visible, but also what lies beneath the patterns that organize experience, the subtle shifts in energy and intention, and the possibilities that may unfold over time. This perception is inherently symbolic and holistic. Unlike a straightforward thinker who might focus on discrete details or linear cause and effect, the intuitive introvert's mind works by synthesizing fragments into a coherent whole. They see how one event resonates with another, how emotions and ideas ripple across contexts, and how seemingly unrelated pieces fit together like parts of a puzzle. This deep seeing allows them to understand situations on multiple levels, simultaneously intellectually, emotionally, and intuitively. The ability to perceive patterns emerges from an internal process of gathering impressions, memories, and sensations, which the intuitive introvert's unconscious mind assembles into meaningful configurations. This happens often beneath the threshold of conscious awareness. The intuitive introvert may find themselves suddenly aware of a pattern that explains a perplexing problem or illuminates a hidden truth. This insight is usually experienced as a flash, a moment of clarity that brings order to chaos. It is not arrived at by stepwise analysis, but through an intuitive leap. Such perception of meaning extends beyond the immediate present. The intuitive introvert frequently contemplates not only what is but what might be. They have an innate ability to sense potential futures, to envision how current trends and forces might develop over time. This future-oriented intuition is subtle and complex. It does not predict with certainty, but perceives a range of possibilities, weighing them internally with a sensitivity that often escapes others. This foresight allows the intuitive introvert to prepare mentally and emotionally for what lies ahead, to anticipate challenges and opportunities that are not yet apparent. Because their perception is pattern-based and future-focused, the intuitive introvert is often drawn to fields or pursuits that require abstract thinking, strategic planning, or creative problem-solving. They excel at identifying underlying structures, whether in human relationships, organizations, systems, or ideas. Their mind naturally sorts through complexity, searching for the organizing principles that unify disparate elements. This makes them invaluable in roles where vision and insight are prized. At the same time, this deep perception can be overwhelming. The intuitive introvert is constantly absorbing more information than is immediately available to others. They notice inconsistencies, gaps, and hidden motives that remain invisible to many. This heightened awareness can create a sense of burden, as the intuitive introvert becomes keenly aware of problems or injustices that others overlook or dismiss. Their sensitivity to meaning means that they experience emotional and psychological nuances intensely, which can lead to fatigue or withdrawal if not carefully managed. This sensitivity also means that the intuitive introvert often navigates social situations with a kind of quiet vigilance. They may sense unspoken tensions, underlying agendas, or subtle shifts in mood long before they become explicit. This awareness allows them to respond with empathy or caution, adjusting their behavior in nuanced ways. However, because much of this perception is internal and symbolic, it is difficult to communicate to others. The intuitive introvert may feel isolated by their insight, as if they are perceiving a deeper reality that remains hidden from those around them. The intuitive introvert's perception of patterns and meanings is not limited to external phenomena. It extends deeply inward as well. They often engage in rich inner dialogues, exploring the symbolic language of dreams, metaphors, and archetypes. Their inner world is alive with meaning, and they seek to understand themselves and their experiences through the lens of these symbols. This process provides a map for their psychological and spiritual growth, revealing unconscious motivations, unresolved conflicts, and sources of strength. In many ways, the intuitive introvert's mind functions like a complex web, where each node is connected to many others in intricate and often surprising ways. When they perceive a new piece of information or an event, they instinctively place it within this web, examining how it fits with what they already know. This constant weaving and reweaving of connections sharpens their understanding and deepens their wisdom over time. The perception of future possibilities is not a passive activity. The intuitive introvert often feels a sense of responsibility to act on their insights. They are motivated to guide others, to improve situations, or to bring about change that aligns with the patterns they perceive. This can lead to a quiet determination or even a sense of mission. They are not content to remain observers but seek to translate their inner vision into meaningful action, though often in ways that respect their need for solitude and reflection. This gift of perceiving deeper patterns and futures is also closely linked to creativity. The intuitive introvert's insights often serve as the seed for original ideas, innovative solutions, or artistic expression. Because they see beyond the obvious, they can imagine alternatives that others miss, opening new pathways for thought and experience. Their creativity is not random, but emerges from a deep understanding of the structures underlying life. However, this way of perceiving can create challenges in communication. The intuitive introvert's thoughts are often abstract, layered with symbolism and nuance. When they try to explain their insights, others may find their language vague or enigmatic. This gap can cause frustration on both sides. The intuitive introvert may feel misunderstood or impatient, while others may feel confused or excluded. This difficulty in translating inner experience into shared language is a common struggle, and it often reinforces the intuitive introvert's preference for solitude. Despite these challenges, the intuitive introvert's perception of patterns and meanings is a profound gift. It enriches their lives and those around them, providing a deeper understanding of the human experience. Their ability to see beneath the surface, to connect past, present, and future, and to navigate complexity with subtlety, allows them to contribute unique insights and perspectives. In relationships, this deep perception enables the intuitive introvert to empathize and respond in ways that honor the complexities of others. They may notice unspoken feelings or needs and offer support without being asked. Their understanding is often intuitive rather than explicit, creating bonds that are felt more than articulated. This sensitivity can foster intimacy and trust, though it requires careful boundaries to protect the intuitive introvert's own energy. The intuitive introvert's perception of meaning also invites them into ongoing personal exploration. They are drawn to philosophical, spiritual, or psychological inquiry as ways to deepen their understanding of the patterns that shape their lives. This pursuit is not merely intellectual but experiential, involving a search for authenticity and coherence within themselves and the world. Through this continuous engagement with meaning, the intuitive introvert cultivates wisdom that is both practical and transcendent. They learn to trust their inner guidance, to recognize when an insight is true, and to act accordingly. This wisdom grows not from accumulation of facts, but from the integration of experience, reflection, and intuition. Ultimately, the deep perception of patterns, meanings, and futures shapes the intuitive introvert's world. They live in a reality that is rich with layers, where everything is interconnected and imbued with significance. This perspective allows them to navigate life with a sense of purpose and direction, even when the path is not clear to others. It is a way of being that honors mystery as much as knowledge, and embraces complexity as a source of depth rather than confusion. Discomfort with superficiality. Craving depth is a profound experience for the intuitive introvert, shaping their interactions, thoughts, and emotional life in fundamental ways. This longing for substance over surface is not a mere preference or occasional irritation. It is a core aspect of their nature, a driving force that compels them to seek meaning and authenticity in all areas of existence. The intuitive introvert's inner world is rich and complex, and anything shallow or trivial feels like a barrier to true connection and understanding. Superficiality, whether in conversation, relationships, or activities, creates a sense of unease for the intuitive introvert. Small talk, casual chit-chat, or social rituals that focus on appearances or inconsequential details often feel draining or pointless. They may participate out of necessity or social convention, but internally they yearn for conversations that probe beneath the obvious, that explore ideas, emotions, or values in a meaningful way. This discomfort arises because the intuitive introvert experiences the world through layers of depth, and when others remain on the surface, it feels as if a vital part of reality is being ignored or denied. This craving for depth also manifests in the intuitive introvert's relationships. They are drawn to others who demonstrate a similar hunger for authenticity, who are willing to explore the complexities of self and experience without pretense. Casual acquaintanceships or superficial friendships rarely satisfy them. Instead, they seek connections marked by vulnerability, trust, and profound understanding. When relationships remain at a surface level, the intuitive introvert may feel isolated or disconnected, even in the presence of others. This longing for depth is closely tied to the intuitive introvert's way of processing the world. They do not easily accept things at face value. Instead, they probe beneath appearances, questioning motives, intentions, and underlying truths. This investigative impulse is not cynical, but driven by a desire for clarity and sincerity. The intuitive introvert senses that reality is more intricate than what is immediately visible, and feels compelled to uncover its hidden dimensions. In social environments, this can create tension. The intuitive introvert's intolerance for superficiality may make them seem aloof, critical, or unapproachable to those who favor lighter, more casual interactions. Others may misunderstand their silence or reluctance to engage in small talk as disinterest or judgment, when in fact it stems from a deep internal standard for meaningful exchange. This disconnect can reinforce the intuitive introvert's preference for solitude or selective social engagement. The craving for depth is also evident in the intuitive introvert's intellectual and creative pursuits. They are often drawn to topics that require sustained reflection, complexity, and nuance. Philosophy, psychology, art, literature, and spirituality are common areas of interest because they offer the richness and depth the intuitive introvert seeks. Their thinking tends to move beyond the obvious or practical, exploring the symbolic, the abstract, and the existential. This engagement provides a sense of fulfillment that superficial concerns cannot provide. This search for meaning and depth often leads the intuitive introvert to question societal norms and conventions. They may resist trends, popular opinions, or cultural expectations that seem shallow or conformist. Instead, they value independent thought and personal integrity, striving to live according to principles that resonate deeply with their inner truth. This can set them apart from mainstream culture, reinforcing feelings of being different or misunderstood. Emotional depth is another dimension of this craving. The intuitive introvert experiences feelings intensely and seeks to understand them rather than dismiss or suppress them. They may explore the complexities of their own emotional landscape through reflection, journaling, or creative expression. Surface-level emotional exchanges, such as casual complaints or fleeting moods, often feel inadequate to capture the richness of their inner experience. The intuitive introvert desires emotional honesty and depth in others as well, longing for relationships where feelings can be shared openly and explored with empathy. This emphasis on depth also influences how the intuitive introvert approaches challenges and conflicts. They tend to avoid superficial solutions or quick fixes, preferring instead to engage with the root causes of problems. This approach requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths. It can make the intuitive introvert a powerful agent of change, but it can also lead to frustration when others opt for easier, more surface-level responses. The discomfort with superficiality can sometimes cause the intuitive introvert to withdraw or become guarded. When faced with environments or people that do not meet their need for depth, they may retreat inwardly or physically. This withdrawal is not rejection, but a protective measure to preserve their energy and maintain their authenticity. It also reflects a refusal to settle for less than what feels meaningful and true. Despite these challenges, the intuitive introvert's craving for depth is a wellspring of vitality and growth. It propels them towards self-discovery, encourages lifelong learning, and fosters profound connections with others who share their values. This quest shapes their identity and guides their choices, creating a life imbued with purpose and significance. This desire for depth also resonates with the intuitive introvert's relationship to time and experience. They often perceive life as a journey toward deeper understanding, where each moment holds layers of meaning waiting to be uncovered. They are less interested in accumulating external achievements or possessions, and more focused on the inner evolution that comes from grappling with the profound questions of existence. In this way, the intuitive introvert's discomfort with superficiality is not merely negative but a form of wisdom. It protects them from distraction and encourages them to seek what truly matters. It sharpens their perception, making them attuned to subtleties that others might overlook. It also fuels their creativity and insight as they draw from the depths of their experience to express something authentic and unique. Moreover, this craving for depth extends beyond personal experience to encompass a broader sense of responsibility. The intuitive introvert often feels compelled to contribute meaningfully to the world, to address social or existential issues with honesty and courage. They resist platitudes and easy answers, pushing instead for dialogue and action that reflect the complexity of human life. This commitment can inspire others, even if it sometimes isolates the intuitive introvert from mainstream currents. In relationships, this longing for depth can be both a gift and a challenge. When the intuitive introvert finds others who share their desire for meaningful connection, the bond can be profound and transformative. They engage with others at a level of authenticity that fosters trust and intimacy. However, when others shy away from this intensity or prefer to keep things light, the intuitive introvert may feel misunderstood or frustrated. Navigating this tension requires discernment and patience. The intuitive introvert's approach to communication also reflects their craving for depth. They prefer thoughtful, deliberate exchanges over rapid or superficial conversations. They listen deeply, seeking to understand not just words, but the feelings and intentions behind them. When they speak, their words are often measured and meaningful, chosen to convey significance rather than filler. This style may sometimes be mistaken for reserve or reticence, but it is rooted in a profound respect for the power of language and connection. This craving for depth also influences the intuitive introvert's relationship with knowledge and learning. They favor depth over breadth, choosing to immerse themselves deeply in subjects that captivate their interest. Their curiosity is driven by a desire to uncover underlying principles and truths rather than to accumulate facts. This approach fosters expertise and insight, but also requires time and dedication. In moments of solitude, the intuitive introvert often engages with this longing for depth through introspection and contemplation. They explore their own beliefs, values, and emotions with a commitment to authenticity and growth. This internal work strengthens their sense of self and prepares them to engage with the world in a way that honors their need for substance. The intuitive introvert's discomfort with superficiality also extends to cultural and societal phenomena. They may critique media, consumerism, or social trends that emphasize image over essence or sensation over meaning. This critical stance is not cynical, but motivated by a desire to promote authenticity and depth in collective life. They seek environments and communities where depth is valued and cultivated. In this context, the intuitive introvert may become a seeker of wisdom traditions, philosophical teachings, or spiritual practices that emphasize inner depth and transformation. These pursuits provide frameworks for understanding and expressing their craving for substance. They offer practices and insights that support the intuitive introvert's journey toward greater authenticity and connection. This craving for depth is intimately tied to the intuitive introvert's sense of identity. It shapes their world view, their relationships, and their creative expression. It influences how they spend their time, the values they uphold, and the goals they pursue. This longing is not a passing phase or a simple preference, but a defining element of their way of being in the world. At its core, this discomfort with superficiality is a call to live with intention and meaning. It challenges the intuitive introvert to resist complacency and to seek the profound in everyday life. It encourages them to cultivate honesty, depth, and courage in all their endeavors. Through this pursuit, they contribute to a deeper understanding of what it means to be human, both for themselves and for those they touch. Quiet strength and resilience is a defining yet often unseen quality within the intuitive introvert. Unlike the outwardly loud or forceful expressions of power that dominate many social narratives, this strength is subtle, internal, and deeply rooted in the individual's character. It manifests not in dramatic gestures, but in a calm, steady presence, a capacity to endure challenges without losing composure or direction. This quiet strength is forged through a lifetime of inward reflection, self-awareness, and a measured approach to life's difficulties. The intuitive introvert's resilience is intertwined with their ability to maintain inner equilibrium amid external turbulence. When faced with stress, conflict, or uncertainty, they do not rush to reaction or display overt emotion. Instead, they draw upon an inner reservoir of calm and clarity, allowing them to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. This measured response often surprises others who expect more visible signs of struggle. The intuitive introvert's strength lies in their capacity to absorb and process difficulties internally, emerging from hardship with renewed insight and resolve. This internal fortitude is cultivated through solitude and reflection, practices that allow the intuitive introvert to examine their experiences and emotions deeply. In these quiet moments, they build a solid foundation of self, understanding, and acceptance. They come to recognize their vulnerabilities not as weaknesses, but as integral parts of their humanity, which in turn fosters compassion and patience toward themselves. This self-compassion becomes a source of resilience, enabling them to face adversity with grace and perseverance. The quiet strength of the intuitive introvert also includes a remarkable capacity for patience. They understand that meaningful growth and change are gradual processes that cannot be rushed. This patience extends to their interactions with others as well. They often provide a steady, grounding presence for friends or colleagues in times of crisis. Their calm demeanor and thoughtful listening create a safe space where others feel supported and understood, even without overt expressions of encouragement. Resilience for the intuitive introvert is not about resisting or denying hardship, but about embracing it as part of the journey. They tend to approach difficulties with a sense of acceptance, recognizing that suffering and challenge can offer valuable lessons and opportunities for transformation. This acceptance is not passive resignation, but an active engagement with the realities of life, tempered by hope and an inner sense of purpose. This quiet strength often goes unnoticed or undervalued in a culture that prizes extroversion and visible achievement. The intuitive introvert's resilience is not about grand accomplishments or dramatic triumphs, but about the consistent, steady commitment to living authentically and with integrity. Their strength is a testament to their inner resources, their capacity for reflection, insight, and emotional regulation, which sustain them over the long term. In relationships, this resilience allows the intuitive introvert to navigate emotional complexities with sensitivity and steadiness. They may absorb the feelings of others deeply, yet maintain boundaries that protect their own well-being. This balance requires subtle skill and continuous self-awareness. Their ability to hold space for others without losing themselves is a form of strength that fosters trust and intimacy. The intuitive introvert's quiet strength also manifests in their capacity to face uncertainty. Because they are future-oriented and perceptive of patterns, they often anticipate change and disruption before it fully unfolds. This foresight allows them to prepare mentally and emotionally, reducing anxiety and enabling them to adapt with flexibility. Their resilience is thus proactive as well as reactive, rooted in a deep understanding of life's flux. Moreover, the intuitive introvert often possesses a strong moral compass, guiding their actions even in difficult circumstances. Their resilience is linked to a sense of purpose or mission that transcends personal comfort. This inner conviction provides direction and motivation, sustaining them through trials and setbacks. The quiet strength they embody is a reflection of this alignment between values and actions. This strength is also evident in the intuitive introvert's creative endeavors. The process of creation often involves vulnerability, uncertainty, and repeated effort. Their resilience enables them to persevere through periods of doubt, frustration, or external criticism. They return again and again to their work with renewed commitment, drawing upon their inner resources to sustain their vision. The intuitive introvert's quiet strength is further characterized by a humility that avoids boasting or seeking recognition. They do not need external validation to feel secure. Instead, their confidence arises from within, grounded in self-knowledge and acceptance. This humility enhances their resilience by reducing dependence on fluctuating external circumstances or opinions. This inner strength also supports the intuitive introvert's capacity for deep empathy. Because they have endured their own struggles with reflection and compassion, they can extend understanding and patience to others. Their resilience is thus relational as well as personal, creating connections that are nurturing and sustaining. The intuitive introvert's resilience is tested not only by external challenges, but also by their own inner critic. Their high standards and deep self-examination can lead to moments of doubt or self-judgment. However, their quiet strength allows them to face these inner struggles with honesty and perseverance, gradually cultivating greater self-acceptance. This process of building resilience is ongoing and dynamic. The intuitive introvert learns through experience, reflection, and sometimes hardship, refining their ability to remain grounded and purposeful. They develop strategies for self-care, boundary setting, and emotional regulation that support their well-being over time. In work and life, this quiet strength often translates into reliability and steadfastness. The intuitive introvert may not seek leadership roles or public acclaim, but their consistent presence and thoughtful contributions make them invaluable. Their resilience underpins their ability to meet responsibilities with dedication, even when faced with obstacles. This strength also enables the intuitive introvert to maintain a sense of balance amid competing demands. They recognize the importance of pacing themselves and honoring their need for rest and reflection. This self-awareness prevents burnout and sustains their ability to function effectively. The quiet strength of the intuitive introvert is a powerful counterbalance to the external noise and urgency of the modern world. It offers an alternative model of power, one that is measured, inwardly rooted, and enduring. This form of resilience invites others to reconsider what it means to be strong and successful. Because their strength is quiet and internal, the intuitive introvert may sometimes underestimate it or fail to recognize its full value. They may compare themselves unfavorably to more extroverted or assertive types. Yet this strength is no less real or significant. It is simply expressed differently. Understanding and honoring this quiet strength is essential for the intuitive introvert's growth and self-esteem. It affirms their way of being and encourages them to trust in their unique resources. Recognizing this resilience also enables them to embrace challenges with confidence and grace. This quiet strength is a foundation for living authentically and meaningfully. It supports the intuitive introvert's journey towards self-realization and contributes to their capacity to influence the world in profound ways. It is both a gift and a responsibility, a call to embody steadiness amid change, to carry light into darkness, and to lead through example rather than force.